Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. Some big news we've got to talk about tonight. Daniel Levy is no longer the chairman of Tottenham Hotspur. How many of you thought we'd be talking about that? Wow. He stepped down with immediate effect, but his exit is believed to have been taken out of his hands somewhat. I think I said months back, didn't I, that this was going to be a big, huge summer of change. That was the expectation at Spurs, with a very different Tottenham Hotspur at the end of it. I think probably even I didn't think this was going to be how far it went. It has been a huge summer of change. Announced today, I was just heading off to play football actually, and my plans radically altered. So I've been doing loads of work tonight trying to dig into all of this. It's been announced that the 63-year-old will be stepping down after almost a quarter of a century. Was it 2001, wasn't it? He became the chairman, the executive chairman, technically his title, of Tottenham Hotspur. And from what I understand, this is the final part of like a jigsaw, really, of plans by the Lewis family, the people that kind of own Tavistock Group, which owns the ENIC that we know more as the owners of Tottenham Hotspur. It is part of these plans to push through these big changes, fresh blood, leadership into the club, which, from what I understand, they believe will take the club on to kind of bigger and brighter and more success on the pitch, I think. You just look at the changes this summer already. You've had Ange Postecoglou obviously sacked as head coach, replaced with Thomas Frank. At a board level, we've seen Vinay Venkatesham come in as the club's first CEO, Chief Executive Officer. We've had Scott Munn placed on gardening leave. He was the Chief Football Officer. In June, it was announced that Daniel Levy's longtime advisor, Donna Maria Cullen, would be stepping down after about 3 decades at the club. And now the chairman himself has left his position. Obviously, off the pitch, as you can always look at and say, done remarkable things in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the stadium, of course, which is one of the best in the world, the training facilities, which are one of the best in the world. But obviously, on the pitch, it has been a different story. I suppose it's the irony that he is leaving after finally delivering a trophy, the first European trophy of his entire tenure and the second trophy overall. Of course, there have been protests along the way. Mass won last season with about 2,000 people in it. We've had chants at games for him to leave. We've had chants, I think, the opening game of this season as well. And some horrendous stuff as well. I think there's been plenty of death threats sent his way as well, which is just horrendous and horrible, of course. It's all come to this position now where Daniel Levy has left, I think with immediate effect as well, his role as executive chairman of the club. I think there's this belief from the powers that be at the very, very top. That is the thing. We've always kind of seen it as Daniel Levy as the powers that be. But of course, the people that kind of run the group that run Tottenham, that's where the real power lies. And there was a sense, from what I understand, that the success has just not been consistent enough over the years. A lot of great things done off the pitch, but on it, so much more needed to have kind of happened. Obviously, he's the longest serving chairman in the Premier League, Daniel Levy. And from what I understand, this has been in the kind of the works for a little while, but it's been kept quiet out of respect for, like I say, everything he's done inside the club. It's just, I'm still trying to get my head around it. Honestly, I've spoken to so many people since the news broke, trying to get the lay of the land, exactly what's happened, why it's happened, what it means going forward and everything. Just for those who are kind of thinking that immediately it means going to be a sale or take over the club or anything, from what I understand, the Lewis family currently have no current plans to sell the club. Obviously, whether that is, something down the line, we'll see. But certainly that is not the intention right now. The intention is to create a more modern structure at the club in terms of its leadership. There was a big, thorough review done of the organisation, and what came out of it was the fact that I think I've kind of mentioned this before, that there was quite an old school way of running the club with just a few people running what has become a huge organisation, more than 800 people or so, a globally renowned brand across the world. And to have just a few people kind of running that rather than a more modern structure to it, that was something that it was believed had to be changed. And that was why it's become now this modern structure with a CEO, Vinay Venkatesham. I guess Levy was seen more as like a part owner, I suppose, running the club, whereas the new direction is very much the owners looking to back it rather than run it. You might remember me saying, I think it was after the Burnley game, we spoke about Vivienne Lewis. Vivienne Lewis, who is the daughter of Joe Lewis, the former owner of Spurs. Viv, as she is known around the club. I think I said that in the last video. She's quite a popular lady. Very, very down to earth. People say that anyone that's met her around the stadium, I think she's been to a fair few games over the season as well. I think when Joe Lewis would turn up, it would be quite a rare occurrence. But from what I understand, I think Vivienne Lewis is a far more regular presence. She was there at the game against Burnley. Obviously, when we're speaking about Joe Lewis, we have to speak about the fact that obviously he was former owner of the club, 88 years old now as well. Stepped away from that role some years back. He's not believed to have been any kind of real part in this decision. This feels very much like it's come from, I think, from the Lewis family as a whole. And, if you're not aware exactly who they are, Vivienne Lewis is Senior Managing Director of Tavistock Group, like I said, that owns Enoch, which owns Spurs. Her brother Charles is also a senior Managing Director as well. And I think there's this real kind of belief now that those two children, as well as their grandchildren, there's a lot of Spurs fans within that family, are understood to have taken on a more active role now in backing the club. That backing the club hasn't come in we're going to step in and run everything on a day-to-day basis. I think it's more so of making sure that the organisation is set to grow in the future and become a bigger thing, a better thing on the pitch as well. And I think you can see that in the need and desire to inject kind of extra football knowledge into the actual running of the club. I guess one of the game's most sought after CEOs, Vinay Venkatesham. A lot of clubs tried to get him in that year after he left Arsenal and eventually came to Spurs. And he will very much now be the lead, the go-to man on the running of the club on a day-to-day basis. We kind of said that was starting to head that way this summer. Now it is that is all it is. Daniel Levy will have no direct involvement in the club now, other than the fact about shares, which we'll talk about in a moment. But certainly Vinay Venkatesham is going to be the day-to-day running man, on point at doing those sort of things. And also there is a new non-executive chairman in Peter Charrington, who was on the board. He's not expected to be involved in, like I say, the day-to-day running of football side of things, but he'll oversee the big picture following Levy's departure from what was more of a hands-on role. Just digging around, someone close to the Lewis family told me generations of the Lewis family support this special football club, and they want what the fans want: more wins more often. This is why you have seen recent changes, new leadership and a fresh approach in Vinay, Thomas and Peter Charrington. They believe they are backing the right team to deliver on this. This is a new era. So it's strong stuff. It really is strong stuff. It's really just been a huge night to kind of process everything as well, because Daniel Levy is a man that divides opinion, and he always has since he came through those doors at Tottenham. Really, he's done a lot of terrific things in terms of the stadium and the training ground, and also I think modernising some of the ways that the club did things as well. But obviously, there's no getting away from the fact that whenever things went wrong, people would look towards him, rightly or wrongly. I think he was a chairman that certainly would micromanage far more than he should have, and that would have seeped into a lot of different things. I always remember kind of hearing things about how he decided on like the doorknobs in the stadium and things like that, little things to such a tiny degree. You kind of think, did you need to be that hands-on? I guess he will always say his legacy is that stadium, And I think in that Gary Neville interview, kind of that was the thing he was probably most proud of, more so than the two trophies. And I guess it is something that will stand for years and years, and it is an amazing place. But yeah, frustrations would grow about kind of certain ways he would do things and decisions he would make. And now we get to see what is on the other side and whether it is better or not. That's the way these things work, I suppose. I mean, I should explain. He will remain part of the club, Daniel Levy, as a shareholder, but without direct influence over the running of the club. If you're not aware of how the shares break down at Spurs, so ENIC own 86.91% of the shares of the club, and a trust of which the Lewis family are beneficiaries of that own 70.12% of that ENIC share, while Daniel Levy and his family are potential beneficiaries of discretionary trusts which own 29.88% of that share capital. So he is a minor, has a minor interest, minor share in the club compared to the main ENIC share. So essentially, that's what I mean. His direct influence is kind of, by coming out of this role, that's it really, because ENIC have the lion's share of it all. Daniel Levy quotes, I should say, from the press release the club put out when he left: "I'm incredibly proud of the work I've done together with the executive team and all our employees. We have built this club into a global heavyweight, competing at the highest level. More than that, we have built a community. I was lucky enough to work with some of the greatest people in this sport, from the team at Lily White House and Hotspur Way to all the players and managers over the years. I wish to thank all the fans that have supported me over the years. It hasn't always been an easy journey, but significant progress has been made. I will continue to support this club passionately." That's reminding me actually as well. Another positive plus you have to give in his column is a lot of stuff he did in the community as well. A lot of stuff that he pushed the club to do. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff. Having seen a lot of the community stuff that's gone on, it's like a sixth form college as well. Is it I'm trying to remember the name of it now. It's not the LTA. LE, I don't want to do it disservice. It's a very impressive kind of complex, which is kind of part of Lily White House, which is something like the Tottenham Academy of Excellence. I don't know why I keep trying to say the name of it. But certainly there's been a lot of community stuff done as well. And I think all that has to kind of go into his legacy as a chairman. Like I say, on the pitch, just hasn't been good enough over a prolonged period of time. But off the pitch, you've got to kind of give credit where it's due. It's such a bigger club than it was before when he took over. But ultimately, it's football, and it's the football that is what you're remembered for. Peter Charrington, there's also quotes from him. He said, "I'm very honoured to become non-executive chairman of this extraordinary club. And on behalf of the board, I would like to thank Daniel and his family for their commitment and loyalty to the club over so many years. This is a new era of leadership for the club, on and off the pitch. I do recognise there's been a lot of change in recent months as we put in place new foundations for the future. We're now fully focused on stability and empowering our talented people across the club, led by Vinay and his executive team." So yeah, a huge night of changes. I was just looking at the club tweet. I was just checking because I've obviously got millions of messages have been pinging around as I've been trying to get to the bottom of everything. I was just looking at the club tweets, had almost 40,000 likes on it, 3,000 replies underneath it. This is going to be something that is going to be discussed in and out for a long time. And it's the knock-on effects, little things like Fabio Paratici, does he still come back in? I know he was someone that Daniel Levy really trusted. Is he someone that the club still want as a whole to come in? Which you'll find out, I'd imagine, very shortly. If that has already been agreed, maybe that already happens. Various bits and pieces, and just how a different Tottenham Hotspur looks, you know. Yeah, it's interesting. I think some people have kind of been suggesting why, if this has been in the works, was it not done before the transfer window? I would imagine that you'd probably want to get through this process first rather than leaving a completely new team in place. Don't know. It is a fascinating scenario, and yeah, I mean, my personal opinion, which I'm sure people ask for, is probably pretty much what I've kind of said in this. I think off the pitch, a lot of huge stuff done. You know, as someone that used to go to Spurs Lodge back in the day, the training ground it's completely different. And the stadium itself is, my dad used to take me to White Hart Lane. That was the stadium of my childhood, but this is the stadium of just the future. It's incredible, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So in that sense, kind of amazing things achieved off the pitch. On it, it's just not been good enough. There's been too many frustrating moments. There's been too many crossroads. There's been too many moments where, it wouldn't have been Daniel Levy's fault directly, but I do think decisions that have been made over the years have led to these crossroads, and crossroads then being taken a wrong road. And we've seen so many managers in such a short amount of time. And personally, I just think you're at a stage where, and I think I've kind of said this before anyway, 25 or 24 years in one position, you do probably need a fresh viewpoint on things, of course. I think fresh ideas, a fresh way of looking at stuff. Like I said, whether it ends up being a better thing, we'll find out. But I do think you need to find out. I think it's been a long, long time with one voice, and I don't think that's a good thing, especially in this sport at all. I think kind of rolling with, I suppose, just the times, and every club, looking around, he's the longest serving Premier League chairman. Other clubs have moved and changed kind of internally as well as the clear external stuff that Spurs have done. And I guess that's what I'm saying, is that Spurs' kind of whole leadership structure is finally evolving, I suppose, into a more modern beast, as it were. And we'll see now whether that takes the team onto new heights or whether it is more of the same still. That's what the future will tell us. Very quickly before I go, the other thing that's happened, obviously, since the last video, which I need to cover very quickly, Champions League squad was announced. 6 players, I said before, would have to be left out. Thomas Frank said it was a minor challenge. It was quite a big challenge. And we now know it. It's James Maddison, Radu Dragusin, Dejan Kulusevski, Yves Bissouma, Kota Takai, and Matisse Tell. Have I said the 6 there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. So Maddison, not really a surprise at all. We knew he was going to miss most of the season. Dragusin and Takai, you're leaving out some centre-backs there that are both back in training soon. I know Dragusin, Thomas Frank said, was going to take 2 months or so probably to be back anywhere near any sharpness. But still, I do worry whether we're going to get to a certain point and they're going to be low on centre-backs again, and we're thinking, but they can't use Dragusin or Takai. And obviously, Vuskovic has gone out on loan. So it does worry me slightly that both the centre-backs who are about to come back to training have been left out. Kulusevski, again, I think I said this in my last video. If I didn't, he's expected back from his patellar injury. End of year, December really. If he recovers miraculously, it might be before December, but December I think is roughly where they're kind of looking at. I do understand giving a squad position to someone that is fit right now. I get that. I just have this horrible feeling that, I say horrible, it's a good feeling in a way, that we're going to get to December, January, and there'll be, 3 games left of the Champions League phase, and he will be absolutely dazzling in the Premier League, and we'll be going, how annoying is it that you can't play in this? But I kind of get the decision still. Yves Bissouma, again, is a bit of a no-brainer purely because he's leaving the club. Whether it is in the coming days to a Turkish side or whether it is in January or the summer, he is leaving the club. He's not part of the future plans of the club. So I get that as well. And then that leaves you with the final choice, which was either going to be, wasn't it? It was either going to be Kinski or it was going to be one of the two, probably the 2 young French wingers in Tell or Audebert. And he has gone for Matisse Tell, which surprised me slightly. I think Tell is the one with the big game experience. He's played in the Champions League a lot. He's played for Bayern in big games. He's probably more versatile in where he can play. He can play right across the front 3, whereas Audebert can't. But I did say in the past, over this summer, that Thomas Frank has got this little thing about Audebert. He really likes Audebert. So I think that's probably what swung it. But yeah, it's tough on Matisse Tell, especially when you're the £30 million a new signing in the summer and you're immediately told, you're not playing in the Champions League. Same with Kota Takai, I suppose. Although, probably slightly differing expectation levels, I guess, for both players. And we're going to have to see exactly what this means now for him and how he's going to react. What I would say is a certain Jed Spence was left out of the squad at the start of last season. and was so good in the Premier League and the cup competitions that he ended up getting put into the knockout stages squad. I think it was Timo Werner, did he come in for, I think? And yeah, and he played in both last 16 games, I think, played in the quarterfinal, came on late in the final, and has got a Europa League winners medal, and he's currently with the England team in his first call-up. So he responded really well, and I guess that's going to be the example for Matisse Tell to follow. But yeah, as a whole, it's just a problem that Spurs have mismanaged so badly over the years. It's awful. I was looking back to 2018, me asking Pochettino about being heartbroken having to leave Juan Foyth out. And I look back at the quotes and he said, this is something we need to fix. It cannot happen again, or it cannot be repeated. Sorry, Mauricio. Here we are, 7 years on, and it's got worse. There were 6 players they had to leave out. It's unbelievable. It will get fixed, like I say. You've got the likes of Lucas Bergvall, Archie Gray, will become, I think, B-list players next season, and then club train the season after that. But look, the club needs to sort its academy pathway. It should not be in a case where it has one club-trained player. One single club-trained player in Brandon Austin, and not a single outfield club-trained senior player as well. Just so poor. And they've got plenty of talent within their walls as well. And I think eventually they're just going to have to trust it rather than the kind of like short-term adrenaline shot of the transfer market. I get it. We love transfers. We all want transfers. But you need to build from within. You need to bring on the next Harry Kane. You need to bring on these stars and they need to be given a chance. Sometimes it might not look obvious immediately that they can do that, but if they get the first team exposure, that's when it happens. It needs to take place, really, that kind of change. And it seems to be the theme, doesn't it? Change. Wow. Honestly, I'm still trying to get my head around it. It's just such a big thing. Just a constant presence in all of our lives. With all the managers that are gone, all of the technical directors of football, people around the club, players, everything. Daniel Levy has been the constant, and now he is gone. There'll be a lot of Twitter accounts that are going to have to change their name. It's going to be interesting. Who are we all going to get annoyed at when things go wrong next time? Because they will. That's football. They always go wrong. I wonder where the anger will head towards. But yeah, there you go. All done. A new power kind of situation at the top of Tottenham Hotspur. I don't know what that was all about. There was weird angles going on. But yeah, Vinay Venkatesham, the CEO, Peter Charrington as the non-executive chairman. Tottenham move on. We shall see. It's going to be fascinating to see what Thomas Frank's made of it all when we get him back for his press conference after the international break comes to a close, and whether it impacts him in any way. It might not. In the immediate day-to-day running of things, it probably doesn't. But certainly as a club going forward, it'll be very interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see whether we hear from Vinay Venkatesham. I would imagine in this era of what is supposed to be greater communication, we may hear from him at some point. That's not me knowing anything. That's just me presuming that would be a smart thing to do, because there's going to be a lot of questions, I guess, and he is now the man to answer them. So we shall see. Right, it's time to head off. It was only going to be a quick one just to get that out there to people, get some thoughts on it all, and a very new era at Tottenham Hotspur that's about to begin. Right, as always, stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves. I shall catch you later. Goodbye.